Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, March 25th. We're going to talk about GameStop. We have the earnings after hours as promised. I said, hey, I posted yesterday. I said, if this post could get just one like, I'll post a new GameStop video on Tuesday ahead of earnings. I said, we'll cover the option flow, open interest updates, the chart, the technicals, and what to look for with GME earnings. So, wow, 289. I only asked for one like. Thank you all very much. So hopefully you tuned into that video yesterday. We kind of looked at the open interest. We took a look at the daily chart. There was a lot of hype behind the GameStop name ahead of earnings as we saw, some technical things. As we looked on the chart yesterday, we were kind of discussing that 200-day simple moving average, 2512. We saw that shoot up above there, and that was something, as we reach for that, let's see, we'll turn on this after hours extended data. As we see there, let's see, 2585 at the time of filming, so we're a little bit ahead of the open. But when we take a look, though, we were talking about when we lost back on February 24th, we saw GameStop close below that 200-day simple moving average. That was kind of a bearish trend, and that actually began around the time of January 14th with the 921 EMA crossover. Always something to kind of look at on a longer time frame. I use is like a 921 EMA on a daily, and then your kind of generic 50-day and 200-day SMA simple moving average. I find that to be helpful, beneficial, especially when you're zoomed out on a longer time frame. So you can see kind of how GameStop maintained that 200 SMA all the way from last year around May, about the time Roaring Kitty popped up. So I don't want to sound too repetitive from yesterday's video, but that's kind of something that I look at. There was a lot of noise. A lot of buzz behind the name because from a technical standpoint, so we zoom in here a little bit and look at this chart. Let's take a look at it though for a second. We saw a lot of articles, a lot of headlines. Even Nasdaq wrote the article. GameStop above the 200-day SMA, bullish for the stock. It's something that was looked for. It had a nice reset here, the RSI. Granted, that's a lagging indicator. A nice low volume, and then nice little indecisive candle, which maybe marked the turn of this trend. And then we regained the 9 EMA on March 17th, and kind of been just slowly grinding up. March 21st, Friday, we saw, close there 2476, just shy of that 200 SMA. But in after hours trading Friday, we did see GameStop move above 25. And then yesterday, a nice solid close above the 200 SMA. So we haven't seen a close above the 200 since February 21st. And that was some of the things that I had highlighted. So great volume on Friday, which kind of gave the push, and extended volume, a decent amount of volume again yesterday. Let's see, 5 million there, and then Friday about 7 million. So that did help, it kind of continued that trend ahead of earnings, and that does introduce volatility. So let's take a look at some of that option flow. Let's take a look at what went down on GameStop yesterday. Let's try to get you prepared for what to expect after the closing bell today. So as of, like I said, recording about 20 minutes ahead of the market open. So currently, expected move has went from 9.99% to 9.5% to now 9.18%. So that's plus or minus about $2.40, we'll call it. So yesterday, pretty exciting. Although we saw 19 million in total premium, look at that net premium yesterday, 2.1 mil. Propagated a lot by this net call premium. It was a very strong during the day. Nice push up. Some of that net put premium kind of declined there. And if we take a look here yesterday, we'll zoom this in for you. Some of those highest volume contracts, we'll take a look at the open interest, where the money was spread out yesterday. What were they trading on GameStop? So we did see a lot of this as earnings here. So a lot of players are interested in the June 20th call. So let's see here, the 125 call, extremely out of the money. We talked about this yesterday, but we did see some activity on that, about 13,000 volume yesterday, and about 6,600 carried over in open interest. Now, there was 700,000 in total premium. You can see some ask volume, some bid volume, some of that assumed bought, some of that assumed sold, some of that also traded hands as well. For example, like I talked about yesterday, the volatility on that's 172%. So, for example, maybe you own GameStop shares, maybe you own them at $20, $30, even $40. Maybe you think, I don't think GameStop will go to $125 by June. Or even if it did, I wouldn't mind having my shares assigned and selling those at 125, which is something that would happen. So, for example, let's say you had 1,000 shares of GameStop, and you wanted to collect some option premium, ahead of earnings. You said, hey, I'm going to take these 125 calls and you could sell those. So let's see, they closed yesterday around $52. So if you had 1,000 shares, you wanted to sell 10 of them, you would receive a credit for 10 times the $52. So basically, $520 in premium you would receive. Now, as long as GameStop didn't close above 125 on June 20th, that $520 is yours to keep regardless, but it's absolutely yours to keep. Those calls would expire worthless and you'd capture the entire bulk of that premium. Now, let's say, for example, this is just hypothetical, if GameStop closed at 125 or higher on June 20th, however many calls you sold, then your shares would be more than likely assigned at that $125 a share price level, and I'm sure you wouldn't have any problems letting your shares go at 125 each. So you'll see that a lot. Just because it's necessarily showing an ask doesn't necessarily mean bought to open. For example, I've sold plenty of covered calls and I will get good fills and they will appear on usual whales at the ask due to the fill, but those were actually sold to open, not bought to open. So always remember that calls can be bought to open, they can be sold to open, sold to close, and bought to close. So that was kind of some of the hype there on the 125s, as you did see some activity. Now, for those that are playing volatility, those were filling around $42 earlier in the day and moved up to 54. So there's a little bit of movement there, for an out of the money contract, but it's the volatility. So traders could be playing the volatility ahead of earnings. Let's see what else we saw yesterday. We saw some of the $30 calls for this week. About 11,000 volume, 3,600 in new open interest. You can see here kind of split there again between the bid and the ask. Not really directional per se. Now there was some good movement. See 28 to 34, so a few bucks there. And about 350,000 yesterday in total option premium there. So open interest now around 22,000, but those are about 16% out of the money. So about 16% away from $30. Now getting a little bit closer to the money, we saw the $28 calls yesterday, and they were alerted yesterday on unusual whales as we see the volume had exceeded the open interest into the close. So the open interest had only remained 5,600 and there was about 6,100 volume, and about half of that appeared in new open interest and around 370,000 total premium. Again, split between buyers and sellers. Some selling calls, some buying calls. A very big mix. With the volatility, earnings, opportunity doesn't necessarily mean buy calls and hope they go up to capture. Some also sell calls because they already own the stock and they're looking to benefit on some premium. Nothing wrong with that. Similar scenario with those $50 calls this week. And other people, I saw the post online yesterday. Oh, look at all the volume. They're loading 50s. The bid was 2,600. Ask 2,600. So just as many as they were buyers, there were also sellers of those. About, 30,000 in total option premium. You're not talking a lot because each contract, $4 or $5 each. But if you don't think GameStop's going to close at 50 or higher Friday or by Friday, and you got some shares, you're kind of a safe, risk-free, not completely risk-free, but risk-free bet to sell, or for a safe bet to sell those $50 calls in an attempt to just capture the option premium. So you guys have seen this. We've talked about this. I've talked about it last year. Options aren't just bought, they're sold as well. So, for example, a lot of, who's providing liquidity for these, AMC calls or GameStop calls? A lot of times it's already existing stockholders that are selling options. So it's an opportunity to make premium or collect premium, generate income, especially great for those that, maybe down on the position that have employed or deployed a covered call strategy in an attempt to, just get some of that money back, buy some shares, lower their cost average. We see the $23 puts; those were hitting the bid yesterday, so they were running out the window. 4,600 open interest, but we saw 5,000 volume, about 200,000 in total premium. Definitely a good one to sell. As GameStop, those are out of the money, so as long as GameStop closes above $23 Friday, those puts will expire worthless. So these sellers here will collect their option premium. See about 66,000 there, about 50,000. So yeah, that's decent. So let me put the 10-minute on, so you can kind of consolidate that data there. So yeah, 117,000 sold at 33 a piece. Not bad. Truthfully, if say if this was a cash secured put, you would basically need $2,300 to sell one of these because you would need the idea of buying 100 shares at $23 each, which would be 2,300. So if you were doing like a cash secured put, you would need at a minimum $2,300 capital collateral to secure just one contract. So this could be a larger player, a larger fish, somebody that's got a few bucks that's looking to make a couple hundred grand by weekend. So truthfully, it's Tuesday. By Friday, as long as GameStop closes above 23, they're going to bank that $117,000. Absolutely, 100%, pretty much safe. Unless GameStop moves 10% down, let's see, you're still probably, let's see, we said the earnings estimate around $2.40 up or down. Even then, these call puts would still be out of the money, and the trader would be safe in that regard. So not necessarily a strategy. It just all depends on you, your investment objective, your risk tolerance, how you manage your emotion, how you manage your risk, how you manage your capital. It just depends on your situation there. We saw a $65 calls for April, so that's a little bit out of the money as well, 150% away from the target. But looked like somebody here might have sold a few covered calls, collect some premium. I don't blame them with the implied volatility at 177%. Earnings will come, the volatility will drop, and so will the option premium. So this particular trader felt, hey, if it closes under 65, I'm just going to keep the premium. Or they might have decided if it does move up above 65, if that were to happen, hypothetically, they didn't have any issue losing their shares at $65. So that was the highest volume contracts there yesterday. We'll take a look at the open interest. Let's see, the volatility, like we shared yesterday, was 75%, still 74%. So did like to see that positive. Like I said, 2 days in a row following Friday's OPEX, a positive net call premium as denoted there in the green. So if we go back the last 14 days here and take a look at that, it's kind of been sporadic. We had a lot of net put premium on GameStop, especially as it moved down around the 21, 22 level, which just seemed to be a jump off point for call premium. And then net put premium started flatlining as GameStop moved back up. And then you saw Friday net call premium increase, both Friday and Monday, as net put premium, here denoted there in red, started slipping as GameStop moving up. So definitely very cool, very exciting to see. And let's take a look here at I want to see what changed via the open interest, any of the large changes for today, so we can get you the most up-to-date, accurate information. We'll go back to the chart, and then, like we said, we'll talk about what some of the analysts think with GameStop. They're thinking a little bit light on the quarter in comparison to a year ago, expecting roughly, I think, 8 cents earnings per share, 9-cent earning per share. It's about maybe a 50-60% decline year over year. So we'll take a look. But all eyes is really going to be on the cash. What have they done? Have they done anything with that cash since the last earnings report? That's really going to drive the most speculation, I believe, in the volatility within the stock. So your largest increases here. Take a look at that green column. Those are your changes. On the left here are your strikes. There's your expiration. You're welcome to pause here, take a screenshot, whatever you need to do, so you can see what were some of the largest changes to the open interest there. And we'll take a look here at I want to pull up and take a look where the bulk of the money was spent on the options trades yesterday. So we'll make sure we got that. We're going to sort by premium here. So we're looking at the highest premium. Let's see, 30s for January. Let's take a look at those. Let's see, yesterday. Okay, so about $1 million total premium there yesterday. A bid 629, ask 488. So 9,000 volume. Let's see, 1,400 volume yesterday. About 1,000 appeared new open interest. It's kind of split between bid and ask. So buyers and sellers. Yeah, for January. So IV at 84%. So the OI did increase. Let's take a look at what this has done in the last couple of weeks. So it's some buyers here earlier in March. Could be some sellers. Could be bought to open, sold to open, bought to close. Could have been selling them here and then bought them back as they moved up. Could have bought them here, been selling them here as they moved up to take some profit. So it's definitely the 30s on January. That's always something interesting. We talked about the 125s. Let's see, 30s for June saw some activity as well. Let's take a look at that 1 day again. So it was 1,600 volume yesterday, but open interest decreased 550 roughly, about 500,000. So maybe some money came off the table in regards to these 30s for June. Might have ran those out to could be the same player that got the Januaries. Might have rolled out the 30s there for June and then moved them out to January, just playing the volatility. So it's definitely something we could take a look at as we drill down into it. Similar scenarios, the price moved down, contracts flat, a little bit more volume as it picked up, and then some volume yesterday as it moved up as well. Let's see, 450,000, 2550s for this week. Those are right there at the money, in the money. It's a little bit of activity there, about 450,000 yesterday total premium. So, do you remember the post I put out last week for everybody? We had talked about the. Let me get back to it here. The 23, yeah, I posted this last Friday morning, an hour after the open for everybody. I wasn't telling you to buy them, but I kind of was. I said largest net premiums last Friday were on the 23 and 2350 calls for March 28th. They were in the money. We had increased speculation with earnings. I posted that, like I said, an hour after the open because the 23s were hitting there around $200, and then the 2350s were at 200. So 196 for the 2350s. I mean, those things moved. They were up 60 points yesterday. Let's go check those out for a second. I try to throw you a bone. I don't know if you saw the post or not, but I said, hey, these 23s and 2350s are looking pretty good. So, and then they moved up. So let's just pull those up real quick here. We're going to look them up real quick, and then we'll jump over to that chart for a second. And at any time, if you're interested in unusual whales, you can always use my link, and I can get you a discount. So send me a DM or just click the link, and you can get yourself set up there on a little bit of a discount. So always try to help out. So those 23s and the 2350s that I alerted last week, you'll love this. That's why I say you got to follow. You got to take a look at some of this stuff. When I post about it, I can't really say buy or sell because I'm not a licensed financial advisor. I wouldn't do that anyway. But if I'm posting about it, I think by now, I think a lot of you are smart enough to read between the lines. Think about my post last April, May, when we were catching the roaring kitty flow. Think of the timing of my post. It's not because I'm shillish. It's because I'm literally showing you opportunity in the market to make money. That's the entire point of this. So when I was alerting those calls last Friday, 210. Yesterday morning, 315. There's $100 just over the weekend. Okay. On a short dated opportunity. And that's what I look for sometimes. Volatility is opportunity. Again, Friday alerted the 2350s. Shortly after the open, they were filling around $180. They saw 275, so there's another $100 per contract on a short dated trade. You can't beat that. You really can't beat that. So volatile as it may be, risk management is absolutely necessary. In these types of situations, experience is absolutely necessary, but opportunity is hard to pass on opportunity, especially with a name like GameStop, because around earnings and any speculation or hype, it provides opportunity. And that opportunity is very ranging from whether you're buying shares because you're long, whether you're selling shares because you're short, whether you're buying calls because you're bullish, whether you're selling calls because you're bearish. There's a lot of opportunity, and that is what Wall Street provides, is that opportunity. So if you spend the time to learn about it, you can learn different opportunities. A lot of people that sat in these stocks and just owned shares and never realized, holy cow, I missed the opportunity of years of collecting premium or generating income via covered call strategies. I understand, and that's what I'm here for. I like to help. I like to educate. I like to show things, and I do like to help other people out. I literally almost dropped my coffee there in real time. So that's where we're at. Let's see, like I said, expected move. Try to get this uploaded for you ahead of the market open. Let's take a look here and see the high we got today. So far in pre-market, sitting at 25.85 at the time of recording. So anything 23, 23.50, those are all in the money. Obviously, short-dated contracts. Manage your risk. That's the most important thing here. And let's make sure this 200 is going to hold. If we're looking at the 200, look up here in the top left corner of the chart. There are your levels for today. You got your 9 EMA at 24. your 21 EMA at 24.24, and 200 SMA at 25.11. So levels to watch for. You want to see this cross? That would be awesome. Continued volume, another close above the 200. That would be great. That's more bullish, short term and medium term. But everything is always take it, with a grain of salt. Follow the price, follow the volume, follow the option flow. We'll look at the. I'll post in detail tonight the earnings as we'll take a look at them. Be looking at collectibles. We'll be taking a look at the balance sheet, taking a look at the cash, because we talked yesterday about GameStop hit, nearing 1 million PSA card grade submissions now, which I think is pretty remarkable since just starting that program back in October. Do appreciate all your support always on the page, sharing the views. Oh look, I love that. Let's go back to that Tim Walz indicator because we've been banking on Tesla. We were banking on it last year. We were banking on it with Robotaxi event on that drop down, which gave us a huge opportunity. We banked on it through the election. That was our election proxy trade. All of this was posted on X for free. All the trade ideas were given either on X for free or to subscribers on X. And everybody made some coin. And we made some more money last week with Tesla. The inverse Tim Walz indicator. Thanks, Tim, for that extra 19.5 points in my portfolio last week on Tesla. It was great, too. You don't always have to take a lot of trades. I didn't trade really but twice. 2 trades. Plan the run the plan. Oh, shout out my boy Laid Back. Always do appreciate him. You are my good friend, sir. His comments are priceless on that, but yeah, so I'm a pretty big fan, and I think Tesla was like 280-ish something this morning, so that was pretty spicy as well. But yeah, if you made it through the video all the way, I can tell that you support what we're doing here, and you're eager to learn, and I like people who are eager to learn. If you did watch it all the way through, you're awesome for that. Why don't you reply to this post, GameStop earnings, and then I'll know you watched today's video all the way through. Like I said, what we were talking about with the analysts, predicting a little bit light on the sales, we'll be watching that. So earnings will be after hours. There won't be any conference call or anything. We won't get guidance. It'll be boom. Here's the information. I'll post it as soon as it's available, and we can break it down and we can talk about it. But trade your plan, run your plan, manage your risk. Don't set unreasonable expectations. Don't let your green trades go red. Secure some of those gains. Think about what we talked about today. Hope you're able to apply, some of that with your trading or just with your, your knowledge of options. And I'm always happy to help. So anytime, please feel free to, send me a message, reply. I don't always see it because I'm very busy as well, like you all, but I do my best to get to it. So yeah, I hope you all have a great day. I'll follow up some more with the option flow from GameStop throughout the day as we get closer to the close. Anything exciting I see that jumps out or stands out to me, we'll post it. And like I said, if you're interested in getting you a little subscription to Unusual Whales, I highly encourage you to do so and save you a few bucks if you use my link. So there you go. Everybody, I hope you have a fabulous day, and we'll see you around the internet. I'll be around there lurking. You guys have a great day. Be safe with those trades, and let's make a few bucks today. Let's learn something new. Let's lift somebody up today, and let's smile at a stranger. That's what I want to do today. Have a great day, everyone.